Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a massive story in AI news to talk about today. We're diving into a really fascinating paper from April 2026 by researchers Max Conwall and Karen Tran called Constructive Alignment: Governing Preference Dynamics in Human-AI Interaction. When I was reading through this, I realized it fundamentally challenges, well, basically everything we thought we knew about how to align AI with human values. So we're going to break down this groundbreaking work, which was actually featured in the AII 26 workshop on machine ethics, and explore exactly why our current AI alignment models are falling dangerously short.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the AI alignment illusion, then enter constructive alignment, move on to governing value trajectories, and finally, look at engineering the paradigm shift.
But before we get bogged down in all the technical frameworks, I want you to really think about this for a second. Is your AI fulfilling your preferences, or is it fundamentally changing them? It's a heavy thought, right? Because as AI systems become more persistent, personalized, and, socially embedded in our lives, they aren't just passively answering our prompts anymore. They are actively participating in shaping what you pay attention to, what you endorse, and what you actually value over time.
All right, let's dive right into part one, the AI alignment illusion, and exactly why static models fail. So the core problem the researchers point out is that the industry basically treats human preferences like a fixed target. We have this assumption that there's a static reward we can just infer, build a model for, and optimize against. And sure, in a paradigm of static alignment where you're just doing discrete one-off tasks like, say, translating text or doing a quick calculation, snapshot data works perfectly. But today's persistent agents, they are a completely different beast. They live in these continuous feedback loops, evolving right alongside us over weeks or even months, automating our decisions and personalizing everything we see. The whole assumption of a static target just shatters when an AI is that deeply embedded in your daily workflow.
Because the empirical evidence shows that our preferences are not just baked in from the start, they are actively constructed through our interactions. Think about a video recommendation algorithm, for example. If you optimize it for a static reward, it might perfectly satisfy you today by getting you to click a video right this second. But over months of continuous curation, the AI is slowly altering your baseline expectations and tastes, completely under the radar. Relying on a static target for a persistent agent basically creates this dangerous, long-term misalignment. The system is just blindly steering your values.
And that brings us to part two. Enter constructive alignment, a new theoretical scaffolding. Now, this concept is an absolute paradigm shift. Drawing heavily on behavioral economics and psychology, the authors define constructive alignment as a paradigm that reframes AI alignment as a control problem over evolving human preference trajectories. Let that sink in for a second. Instead of optimizing a static reward, we are actively governing a long-term trajectory. It's kind of like, well, less like a GPS giving you a one-time route and more like managing a complex garden, where human values naturally shift, adapt, and grow through interaction. In this new model, human preferences are treated as layered state variables that change under continuous interaction with adaptive tech.
Okay, moving right along to Section 3, Governing Value Trajectories and the 5 Constraints.
So if we are suddenly dealing with a control problem over human values, how on earth do we actually govern it safely? Well, the authors formalize a control theoretic framework that maps how a system's inputs directly affect our preference variables. And to keep this safe and totally user-driven, they introduce 5 vital constraints: coherence, reflective endorsement, epistemic grounding, bounded manipulation, and empowerment under uncertainty. The overarching goal here isn't just about controlling the AI in a vacuum. It's regulating how the AI influences you.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these highly theoretical constraints map directly onto real-world design. Take epistemic grounding, for instance. That just means preference evolution has to be tied to verifiable information, not just manipulated signals from a system desperately trying to boost engagement metrics. Reflective endorsement? That ensures you, the user, actually retain the capacity to review and approve how your preferences are changing. Then there's bounded manipulation, which is absolutely crucial. It demands system designs that actively prevent exploitative reinforcement loops. And finally, empowerment ensures you keep your agency even when the AI throws out unpredictable outcomes. The whole shebang is basically a comprehensive defense of your psychological autonomy.
Which leads us to our final section, Part 4, Engineering the Paradigm Shift, moving from theory to architecture.
For the engineers, developers, and product managers tuning in, you're probably wondering, okay, how do we actually build this? Now, while this specific paper doesn't hand over a neat little ready-to-use deployment guide, the architectural implications here are massive. Here's the playbook. First, you've got to stop treating preference data as a static data set. Start logging interaction sequences and tracking how user feedback shifts over time. Second, implement trajectory-aware evaluation. Basically, measure preference stability over time and track drift metrics, not just single-turn accuracy. Third, design really clear interaction boundaries with configuration panels or easy opt-outs. Fourth, adopt control theoretic monitoring. You literally have to treat preference drift as a system state to be regulated, maybe using feedback dampening when things go off the rails. And fifth, realize that system behavior and interface mechanics have to be co-designed. Optimizing reward functions in total isolation is a thing of the past.
There is this one quote in the paper that perfectly summarizes this mindset shift. It says, "Engineers stop asking, does the model output match human preference, and start asking, how does this interaction pattern alter the user's preference distribution over time?" Honestly, reading that was a real light bulb moment for me. If you're building next-generation recommendation engines or personalized assistants, this is without a doubt your new gold standard question.
But, all right, let's ground ourselves back in reality for just a second. We have to recognize where the industry actually stands today. You really need to treat this framework as a vital research direction that requires custom observability layers around user preference evolution. Until open-source libraries and benchmarks mature to support constructive alignment out of the box, you're going to have to roll up your sleeves and build those observability layers yourself. You need to track session continuity and preference drift, and then integrate those signals back into your system prompt architecture. It's definitely challenging, but it is truly the frontier of safe AI interaction. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. If AI shapes our preferences, and we shape the AI, who is ultimately in control? As we engineer tighter and tighter feedback loops in our tech, preserving human agency is going to become the ultimate philosophical and technical challenge of our time. We aren't just optimizing software anymore, guys. We are governing the formation of human values. Keep asking the hard questions, and thanks so much for joining me.